The tech world loves a good IPO story. It's a familiar tale. A scrappy startup with a big idea works hard. It grows fast and makes a lot of money. Finally it goes public, ringing the bell on Wall Street. For years, investors, designers, and tech enthusiasts alike had been waiting for one company in particular to take this step. That company was Figma. The anticipation was palpable, a low hum of excitement that grew louder with each passing quarter. Everyone knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when. Figma wasn't just another software company, it represented a fundamental shift in how creative work gets done. By bringing design into the browser, it broke down walls. In late 2022, a different kind of deal appeared on the horizon. Adobe, the long-reigning king of creative software, offered to acquire Figma for a staggering $20 billion. This news sent shockwaves through the tech and design communities. The planned IPO was suddenly on hold. Today is May 24, 2024, and though the Adobe deal ultimately fell through, the IPO story remains a pivotal chapter. What exactly is Figma? At its core, it's a design tool that runs entirely in a web browser. But that simple description doesn't capture the magic. Before Figma, designing digital products like websites and mobile apps was a clunky, isolated process. Designers worked on files stored on their own computers. Figma changed all of that. It made the design process collaborative, like a Google Docs for designers. The company's rise was nothing short of meteoric. Founded in 2012, it spent years in development before its public launch, but once it was out, it spread like wildfire. Designers loved its intuitive interface and powerful features, but its appeal went far beyond the design community. Product managers, engineers, marketers, and executives could all jump into a Figma file. They could see the work in real time, leave comments directly on the canvas, and understand the creative process. This accessibility transformed how teams built products. It fostered a shared understanding and broke down the silos that had long plagued creative workflows. The platform became a central hub for product development. It wasn't just a place to draw rectangles and choose colors. It was a living document where ideas came to life. Teams could brainstorm, create prototypes, and hand off final designs to developers all in one place. This unified workflow saved countless hours and prevented endless miscommunications. To truly understand Figma's impact, you have to look at the world before it existed. The landscape was dominated by giants like Adobe. Their creative suite, especially Photoshop and Illustrator, was the industry standard. These were powerful, feature-rich applications. But they were built for a different era. They were designed for individual artists working on their own machines. Figma was born in the cloud. This was its most revolutionary feature. By building for the browser, Figma eliminated the need for installations, licenses, and manual updates. Anyone with an internet connection could access their work from any computer. This was a game changer. It democratized access to professional-grade design tools. A student in a small town could use the same software as a designer at a top Silicon Valley company. This level playing field unleashed a wave of creativity and talent from all corners of the globe. The real-time collaboration feature was the second piece of the puzzle. It felt like magic. Multiple people could be in the same file at the same time, moving elements, typing comments, and building together. This multiplayer mode, as it was often called, transformed design from a solitary activity into a team sport. It accelerated iteration cycles, improved feedback quality, and fostered a stronger sense of shared purpose among teams. Design reviews that used to take days of back-and-forth emails could now happen in a 30-minute meeting. This new way of working had a ripple effect across entire organizations. Figma created a single source of truth that aligned everyone around a common vision. This transparency didn't just make the process more efficient, it made the final product better. Every great company starts with a powerful vision. For Figma, that vision came from its co-founders, Dylan Field and Evan Wallace. They met at Brown University, where they were both computer science students. Field was the charismatic visionary, full of energy and big ideas about the future of creativity. Wallace was the quiet, methodical genius, a brilliant programmer with a deep understanding of graphics and web technologies. They bonded over a shared frustration with the tools of their time. They dreamed of a design tool that was built for the internet age, a tool that was collaborative, accessible, and lived in the cloud. Their mission was simple but audacious, to make design accessible to everyone. They imagined a world where the barriers between an idea and a finished product were eliminated. This vision was rooted in the idea of designing in the open. It meant moving away from closed files and siloed workflows and toward a transparent, inclusive, and web-based environment. The early days were not easy. Field accepted a Thiel Fellowship, a program that gives young entrepreneurs $100,000 to drop out of college and pursue their ideas. After securing the Thiel Fellowship and moving to San Francisco, Figma did something unusual for a modern startup. It disappeared. For nearly 4 years, from 2012 to late 2015, the company operated in stealth mode. They faced immense technical challenges. Building a high-performance graphics editor that could run smoothly in a browser was an unprecedented feat of engineering. When Figma finally launched its closed beta in late 2015, it didn't feel like a version 0.1. It felt mature, fast, and revolutionary. The years of quiet toil had paid off. The excitement surrounding Figma's potential IPO went beyond its impressive technology and rapid growth. It was about the human element. The company had cultivated a deep, almost emotional connection with its users. Designers, developers, and product managers didn't just use Figma, they advocated for it. They saw it as a tool that understood their needs and respected their craft. This connection was fostered by the company's culture. Figma prioritized community from the very beginning. They hosted events, highlighted user creations, and actively listened to feedback. Figma's growth strategy was not something that happened in a boardroom. It happened organically, within the very fabric of the design community itself. The company's success can be largely attributed to a powerful phenomenon known as a community flywheel. Passionate users became public evangelists. They started creating YouTube tutorials, writing blog posts, and sharing tips and tricks on social media. They built and shared free templates, UI kits, and plugins through the Figma community platform, a dedicated space for users to publish their work. This user-generated content became an invaluable resource for new users. At the heart of Figma's commercial success was a brilliantly simple and effective business model, freemium. The company made its core design tool incredibly generous on its free tier. This was a radical departure from the old world of creative software, which typically demanded a hefty upfront payment or a subscription just to get started. Figma's approach removed all friction from the adoption process. This freemium strategy was the key that unlocked Figma's bottom-up growth. It allowed the product to spread like wildfire within organizations without needing approval from a purchasing department. While users were captivated by multiplayer cursors and seamless prototyping, the true foundation of Figma's revolution was its extraordinary technical architecture. The entire application was written in C++, a high-performance language typically used for video games and operating systems, and then compiled to WebAssembly. This allowed Figma to run at near-native speed. A single Figma file could contain thousands of layers, complex vector shapes, high-resolution images, and intricate component libraries. Rendering all of this in real time, while simultaneously synchronizing edits from multiple users, was a monumental challenge. Figma's founders understood from the beginning that they couldn't build every feature their users would ever want. In 2019, they launched the Figma Plugins API, allowing third-party developers to build and share their own tools. The response from the community was immediate and overwhelming. Developers, designers, and agencies began creating a stunning array of plugins to solve specific problems and automate tedious tasks. This open platform approach created a powerful virtuous cycle. The availability of useful plugins made Figma an even more indispensable tool for designers, which in turn attracted more users to the platform. In 2021, Figma addressed this gap with the launch of a brand new product, FigJam. It was an online whiteboard tool designed for collaboration and brainstorming. FigJam was intentionally simpler and more playful than Figma's core design tool. It featured sticky notes, diagrams, voting tools, and fun elements like stamps and emotes. The launch of FigJam was a brilliant strategic move. It dramatically expanded Figma's total addressable market. The company was no longer just selling to design teams, it was now selling to entire organizations. From its inception, Figma was cast in a classic David and Goliath narrative. The Goliath in this story was, without question, Adobe. For decades, Adobe had been the undisputed king of creative software. Its creative suite, with Photoshop, Illustrator, and later Adobe XD, was deeply entrenched in the workflows of designers, agencies, and schools across the globe. Figma's strategy was not to build a direct, feature-for-feature competitor to Adobe's entire suite. Instead, it focused on a fundamentally different approach born from the modern web. Before Figma rose to prominence, the primary tool for many digital product designers was Sketch. However, Sketch was a traditional desktop application. and as teams grew and remote work became more common, its limitations became increasingly apparent. One of Figma's most brilliant moves in accelerating this exodus was building a best-in-class sketch file importer. The company invested significant engineering resources to ensure that designers could bring their existing work into Figma flawlessly. Sketch was limited to macOS, alienating designers and developers who used Windows or Linux machines. Figma, being browser-based, was universally accessible. This inclusivity was a major selling point for cross-functional teams. As Figma's user base grew from a small community of early adopters to millions of professionals at the world's largest companies, the company faced a new and immense challenge: the pressure to innovate while maintaining rock-solid stability. But now, Figma was mission-critical infrastructure. Companies like Microsoft, Google, and Airbnb were running their entire product design processes on the platform. This required a significant evolution in their engineering and product development processes. They invested heavily in automated testing, infrastructure redundancy, and a gradual rollout strategy for new updates. Winning over individual designers and small teams was one thing. Winning over large, complex enterprise corporations was an entirely different challenge. To succeed, Figma had to prove it was not just a cool design tool, but a secure, compliant, and scalable enterprise-ready platform. Figma's journey through the world of venture capital is a masterclass in strategic fundraising. The company methodically raised capital in a series of funding rounds, each one timed to fuel the next stage of its ambitious growth. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in early 2020, it forced a sudden and dramatic shift in how the world worked. This unprecedented event created immense challenges for many companies, but for Figma, it became an unexpected and powerful tailwind. The very problems that companies were now desperately trying to solve, how to maintain alignment, foster collaboration, and keep creative processes flowing in a remote environment, were the exact problems Figma was built to address from day one. The world didn't just go remote, it went to Figma. Figma's usage skyrocketed as companies of all sizes rushed to adopt tools that could bridge the physical distance between their employees. The most profound win for Figma was not measured in user numbers or revenue, but in its impact on the very culture of design and technology. Figma's influence extended into education, democratizing access to professional-grade tools for a new generation of creators. Educational institutions, from universities to online boot camps, quickly adopted Figma as their standard teaching tool. The platform also had a significant impact on the open source and creator economies. The Figma community became a vibrant marketplace for sharing ideas and resources. Just as the whispers of a Figma IPO were reaching a fever pitch, the tech world was hit with a bombshell announcement. On September 15, 2022, Adobe declared its intention to acquire Figma for a staggering $20 billion. The news was shocking, not just for its colossal price tag, split between cash and stock, but for what it represented. It was a dramatic plot twist in Figma's journey to the public market. However, the reaction from Figma's passionate user base was far from celebratory. For many designers, the news felt like a betrayal. They had championed Figma precisely because it was the antidote to Adobe's walled garden. The announcement of the Adobe Figma deal immediately triggered alarm bells among competition regulators around the world. The proposed merger was not just a simple acquisition, it was a move by the dominant incumbent to buy its fastest-growing and most innovative challenger. The deal was viewed as a killer acquisition, a strategy where a dominant firm buys a nascent threat to neutralize it. Regulators worried that if Adobe were allowed to acquire Figma, it would remove the single greatest competitive pressure. As the investigations dragged on through 2023, the tide seemed to be turning against the deal. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority and the European Commission both expressed serious reservations. In a stunning reversal on December 18, 2023, Adobe and Figma jointly announced that they were terminating their merger agreement. The dream of a $20 billion mega deal was officially dead. As part of the termination agreement, Adobe was required to pay Figma a hefty $1 billion breakup fee. The collapse of the deal was a major victory for antitrust regulators. For the design community, the news was met with a collective sigh of relief. The company they loved would remain independent, free to chart its own course and continue innovating on its own terms. With the Adobe acquisition now firmly in the rearview mirror, as of today, May 24, 2024, the question of Figma's IPO has returned to the forefront. Armed with an extra $1 billion in its war chest, and an even stronger market position, Figma is in an incredibly enviable position. The narrative for a future IPO is more compelling than ever. While the exact timing remains unwritten, the eventual Figma IPO is once again one of the most highly anticipated events in the technology industry. The public market awaits. Figma's journey from a dorm room dream to a global industry standard is more than just a remarkable business success story. It represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of technology, creativity, and collaboration. This legacy is built on the core principle of accessibility. By moving design to the browser and offering a generous free tier, Figma democratized access to professional-grade tools on an unprecedented scale. Furthermore, Figma's story serves as a powerful testament to the value of community-led growth. The company's success was not dictated from a boardroom. It grew organically from the ground up, fueled by the authentic passion of its users. As of today, May 24, 2024, Figma stands at the precipice of a new chapter, its future unwritten but filled with immense promise. The future of Figma will likely involve a deeper integration of artificial intelligence, not as a replacement for human creativity, but as a powerful assistant to augment it. Ultimately, the road ahead for Figma is one of leadership and responsibility. As the central platform where so much of our digital world is designed, the company's choices will have a ripple effect on technology and culture at large. The journey has been extraordinary, but in many ways, it feels like it is just beginning. The future of Figma is a future forged in collaboration, and it is a future that promises to be as exciting and transformative as its past.